Hey everybody, welcome back to TRB. That stands for The Resistance Broadcast. We're the podcast for StarWarsNewsNet.com. I'm John, thanks for joining us. It is Thursday, and it is November 12th? Holy cow.
What day is it?
It is November.
November to remember. James and Lacey with me as always. Pretty cool show in store for you today. We got One with the Force. It's been a little while since we had that one. A couple fun ones there. But then also we're going to have a chat about the upcoming Star Wars series that aren't called The Mandalorian. So you got your Cassian Andor series and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and whether or not they need their version of a Baby Yoda that kind of breaks out of the Star Wars fan bubble. So we're going to chat about that. And I'm looking forward to seeing, where that's going to go, because we don't plan our discussions out or like do our talking points or say, then you're going to go and I'm going to giggle and you're going to go and I'm going to giggle. No, we just have a discussion and have a good time. So I'm curious to see where that's going to go. So how you guys doing? What's going on? We got another Mando fan show coming up this weekend. I don't know when it's going to be. But it's going to be either tomorrow night or Saturday. But by now, you fans out there know. But Ming Chen's going to be with us, and that's going to be really cool. So I'm pumped about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I obviously always very excited about The Mandalorian. That's why I got my Death Watch shirt on. Love all that. And I am excited to see, how they play end the season, right?
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Yep. Pumped.
I'm excited to see John's Mandalorian Minute tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's my turn?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Let me do the math here. Yep.
I can't wait for John to wake up extra early and record a video.
You said you're very excited for that?
Yeah.
Very excited?
No.
Oh.
And it's not excited. It's excite. If you're going to do it, at least just...
Ching Wei.
What she should have said is that she was very excited.
Not.
I hate both of you.
We'll find out if we line that up or not. All right,
Yeah.
So James, before we get into this, I just want to do a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast if you'd like to support the podcast. Now we're doing 3 shows every week with The Mandalorian. So you got Monday, Thursday TRB, and Friday the Mando Fan Show. So we appreciate everyone supporting us. The Mando Fan Show wouldn't exist without our Patreon supporters. That's just a fact. And as a thank you to our Patreon supporters, we like to make content. And we do upwards of 10 mini episodes every single month. And that's, poll chats, bonus questions, Q&As that have nothing to do with Star Wars sometimes.
What are you watching?
A lot of what?
That's what we do now. What are you watching?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What are you watching? A lot of things. And then also we have our Discord server. We have mailings, a lot of stuff. And also you can submit topics to the show and stuff like Will of the Force, which we aren't doing this week. But also you can submit discussion topics. We've had plenty of people discuss pitch ideas that are the main topics for the show. The generals get to be on the show. A lot of things. Anyway, go check it out. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Tiers start at $2 a month. We really appreciate all the support. It keeps the engine running. We can't thank you enough. And a special thank you to our generals, Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, who crushed it on the pod race Monday, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Michael Gaines, Jetta Rosewater, Bethany Russ Harbison, and Kendall Gellner. Thank you all so much. You're the best generals. We love you. But now we're going to kick off the show with James Bainey, One with the Force. What's up, man?
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
It has been a little while since we've done One with the Force, and sometimes I think somehow we should cut these segments out and give these to people, because not everybody watches that whole YouTube video, but I bet a lot of people would have a lot of fun thinking what would be my choice on a lot of these topics, because you only get one, right? You get to pick one thing for your answer. We got a couple questions here, and I'm going to kick it off just right away with new directors have joined The Mandalorian for season 2, including Peyton Reed and Robert Rodriguez. Name a director you would like to see direct an episode of The Mandalorian in season 3. So, Lacey, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Scott Frank, who is the director of the Netflix series Queen's Gambit, which I just watched a couple weeks ago.
Topical.
I binged it. It's very, very good. It's perfect in every way, and I think he'd be very good with a Star Wars series, especially The Mandalorian. He's done work with movies like Logan with James Mangold, so he was the writer on that, I believe. But regardless, he obviously is very good at storytelling, so this would probably be a good project for him.
Bill Frank? What is it?
Scott Frank.
Scott Frank.
Lisa Frank, I think. Actually.
No, Scott Frank.
All right.
He does the stickers and
Queen's Gambit. Watch it on Netflix. It's so good.
Is it good?
It's so good.
Stay tuned to what we're watching.
And what is it? Steve Frank?
Scott Frank.
Scott Frank.
Oh
Scott Frank. Okay, sorry. Scott Frank. Okay.
Scott, I am so sorry. I love Queen's Gambit.
Scott will send you a t-shirt. Yeah. Lisa, John, what's your director? Who are you picking?
Yeah, I don't want to go too long, so let me be frank. I'm going to say... people aren't going to like this pick, but Quentin Tarantino.
Ugh. He's the one that I wouldn't pick when we did this last time.
I love Quentin Tarantino. He has done that Western motif quite a bit.
This is a joke, right?
Stop.
Because you almost got me for a second.
Shut up. No, this is my real pick.
No, you almost got me for a second there.
Scott, you for a second. I get it. I see what he's doing there. He's keeping it going. Yeah, he's done the Western motif. He's done it well. He knows how to do genre. He's an Academy Award-winning director. And he, I think he likes the idea of that serialized stuff. Like he likes throwbacks and that sort of thing. Like Django, he did the Western motif. He also did it in, was it Dusk Till Dawn? They sort of were doing the vampire Western almost style there. And the Hateful Eight, which he did. So I think that's something that he could capture. And I just think he has a great eye. So I would pick Tarantino.
I hate it. James?
I don't care if you hate it. You pick Joseph Frank.
Scott Frank.
No,
the world famous director.
Yeah. Well, no. Hey, that's how it happens. They need to be given that opportunity. Yeah. So here's the other thing too. Is like, I think it's interesting because a lot of these directors don't even necessarily get to fully do their vision because they fit within the tone of the show that already exists. So it's kind of a interesting question, but still, I think that if I was going to pick a director, I would pick one who has already nailed a 3 movie, and that would be Alfonso Cuarón, who did Prisoner of Azkaban, right? The 3rd Harry Potter movie. The reason I landed on this particular person is because I thought, wow, he would still work very well in the tone of Mandalorian. He would be able to bring something that I think no one else could. And when I was looking for what would I like to see in a Mandalorian episode that would be like, that would just push it into that wow, a layer of that's film. That's like the art of film. That would be a really good long take. And Alfonso Cuarón really does these exceptionally well with having 2 very notably and very famous long takes in Children of Men and a couple other of his films, including Gravity, which had the longest long take of all time with 18 minutes. And still managed to be a massive box office success. This guy gets camera angles and the swinging camera and know how to like continually keep it moving to keep that motivation on what you need to be paying attention to. He does lighting really well with like dark rooms where characters and certain subjects are lit, which reminds me of Solo and stuff. I feel like this guy has a very artistic Star Wars in him if he was just given the opportunity. And he's been given opportunities before with like Roma's, like Oscar nominated. Obviously he's done big franchise movies as well, including Harry Potter and, like I said before, Gravity, big box office movie. So this guy will do big budget and he is an artist. So that is my pick. Alfonso Cuarón. Right. We got another question here. Unlike The Mandalorian, as of now, the Kenobi series will only be a limited series, making out at 6 episodes. If that remains the case, what is one thing you hope will happen the most in that limited series? So you get to pick one thing that you want to really happen in this series. John, I'm going to go with you first. What's the one thing?
I was supposed to say maxing. Sorry about that. I want to see the...
making out at 6 episodes?
Kenobi's making out for 6 episodes. That's
Whoa, Satine showing up.
I'd watch it.
I need to see.
Lacey's like, that's my thing.
Yep.
That's my
we'll
one
watch.
thing.
10 out of 10.
I need to see the confrontation between Obi-Wan and Owen. I want to see that manifested with Luke, probably like watching while hiding behind something, like kind of with how a kid will do in a way, which will really add strength to the whole that Wizard's a crazy old man, and that's what your uncle would say, and like it would make the A New Hope stuff mean a lot more and make us understand it in a more weighted way. So I really want to see a nice dramatic conflict between, and hopefully it's Joel Edgerton coming back again as Owen, and Ewan McGregor kind of fighting over Luke, and like, you know, they each know each other and why they're important for the boy, but they don't want Luke to know why, or Owen wants to protect him from that, and Obi-Wan wants to just look over him to make sure he's okay. Like I want to see how that came to a head between the two, because the last we saw them in Revenge of the Sith, he hands over the baby and he kind of just goes about his way. They're not like, give me that baby, you know? So I want to see what causes the rift between them.
Yeah, it makes sense. Lacey, what's your one thing you want to see in Kenobi?
Kenobi using the Force to speak to Qui-Gon.
Oh, that's a good pick.
That is a good pick.
It's pretty straightforward, but I want it. I love Liam Neeson. I think he needs to work.
It, right?
So,
like, wouldn't that be such an awful omission to not do that?
Yeah. I also fall back on just like him using the Force in general would be really cool, or lighting a lightsaber. But talking to Liam Neeson is my top want.
I would be very surprised if you didn't get Kenobi using the Force or a lightsaber.
Right.
But I mean, they might do it. They might go like, "Hey, here's what's crazy about this. He put the lightsaber down."
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If they went with the real, like he's kind of tuned out of it,
like Han Solo in Force Awakens,
like Luke Skywalker.
You're Obi-Wan Kenobi. I used to be. Like, oh god, let's make everyone sad.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's
Kenobi.
the Ben thing too. Like, there's a reason he goes by Ben. Yeah. That's a good answer, Lacey. I want to see that too. Not that I didn't want to see John's. I want to see John's as well. But mine is going to be, contact with or somehow rope in Bail Organa. The reason I've come across, I've said multiple times my Kenobi thing, I don't love it or whatever, because I think he's supposed to be alone, and the first contact is this later thing. But I do think if they are going to play in that world, to make some sort of thing that when you rewatch Rogue One and Mon Mothma's like, your friend, you know, the Jedi, can you contact him? Can he help us? I think that in a post Kenobi world, it would be really cool if you could somehow connect those two incidences to be like, maybe this is how Mon Mothma is aware of the Jedi friend. Maybe this is even though we know that Bail Organa knows he's on Tatooine, like maybe this is why it's not so out of the question that in specific times of needs, when the rebellion is holding on to a very last thread of hope, you know, like Kenobi is there to help. I don't know. I just think it's interesting, and I think that connection to Bail Organa could easily show up with the real life people and actors and everything that's involved in. Yeah. So that would be mine.
Nice.
Good answers all around.
We're really good at this.
The next one is, you're tasked with convincing someone who has never seen Star Wars that A New Hope is a great movie, which is going to be real difficult, right? You're allowed to show them one scene. What is the one scene you're going to show them? Lacey, you're going first on this one. What do you think?
The detention center scene.
Oh, come
where
on.
they come in and Han Solo's talking over the intercom, and then they're breaking layout, and then she's getting feisty with them, and they're jumping in the garbage chute. That whole situational. You're welcome, John.
Mm-hmm. So John's apparently either rethinking his answer, or he has the very realistic double down on what Lacey said. The scene.
That whole thing was literally my answer. I guess as my backup, I'll do the the escape from the Death Star TIE Fighter dogfight.
It's almost as good as mine.
It's not yours. You just spoke first. It's still mine. Like what the hell?
Almost as good as mine.
I was joking before when I said like it's gonna be hard because Star Wars is obviously famously great movie, right? I sometimes tease A New Hope a little bit because it's not like, I always think it like in a weird way like doesn't hold up well. Like I think some of the other ones like actually like surprisingly
James,
still great. And Star Wars has that. Star Wars has that. The original has that like, oh, well, they didn't really have the budget on this. That it's kind of silly now. And it's obviously been parodied and used so much that it's hard to really pinpoint something or get somebody excited about seeing that. And they'd be like, I've seen this 1,000 times in a million other movies. Why do you think this is great?
So what's your answer?
Yeah, wow.
So my answer...
A prologue.
So my answer is I'm going to go with Darth Vader killing Kenobi.
Oh.
And I think the reason you could do that is because in today's world, you would still be able to be like, I know you don't know this. I know you don't know these characters, but just watch this scenario play out. This character actively sacrifices himself in the villain because he so faithfully believes in this spiritual world that he's going to be able to continue to teach this other character about how it works, like in the afterlife, and it's a bigger lesson than he'll ever get by actually having this person alive, and what type of faith it takes in order to make a move like that. I think that's something that could actually convince somebody to be like, I don't know, that sounds pretty cool. Even in today's standard of like, we watch people die on screen all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's something about like the human sacrifice element of it that's really neat.
Can I be honest for a second? I chose mine because I knew John was going to pick that one.
What?
How'd you know that?
Sabotage.
Saboteur.
Because I know that you were going to pick that one because you've talked about it before. You've talked about it before, like in detail. Yes. I was actually going to pick Mos Eisley Cantina.
Stop with the stupid looks.
The winky thing. Yeah.
Jeez. Audio people don't know. Lacey's trying to do the like.
I call it my Alexis.
She's got something in her eye. Just like fix
my
it.
Alexis.
You know?
Just drink it.
We got one more.
Big fandom water.
two
big
liter
name water, whatever they call it.
Great.
We got one with the Force. This last one is assuming Darth Vader appears in just one of the upcoming series, so either Kenobi or Cassian, which series would you prefer to see him in? John, I think you get to go first on this one, so think really hard about what Lacey's going to say.
Right. I'm going to go with Cassian Andor, aka the Rogue One spin-off series, just because I feel like there's a lot more opportunities for him to do varying things. It's not one of those, oh, well, if he's going to be in this, we know it's going to be this type of thing, which I feel like if they said he was going to be in the Kenobi series, people have a better way of guessing what it would be. I feel like the Cassian thing could have just this wide stretch, especially if it's this espionage spy show with multiple seasons. You know, they can wait till season 2 to get him in there. Whereas the Kenobi thing is just that compacted limited series. As far as now, watch them say, Disney's like, too bad, you need more Kenobi because it was a success, so find more stories. But and also, like I said with the Kenobi thing, I don't know if I don't want to see them encounter each other on that series because I feel like preserving that gap is very important to me as a fan anyway. But it would be cool if he did show up, if it was in passing, they just kind of miss each other and it's a close call thing and they sense each other with the Force, but I don't want them to interact. So I lean towards the casting because there's a lot more things you can do with Vader in that area, and you could see him be more of the ruthless Vader than the, oh, my old master thing, you know, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lacey, what do you think?
So I started laughing during John's answer because I was tempted to be like, the reason I'm picking Cassian is because I don't want it to ruin the Kenobi Darth Vader moment in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Which is what John said before.
Which we know John agrees with your take on that.
Yes, my take. I'm just kidding. I just know John very well. I know both of you very well, so I usually know what you're going to answer. So
I gotta keep getting myself to a point where people don't want to use my takes anymore.
No, but I agree with you, John. I think that's a really good point. And it's because of his main reason, honestly, and he's the one that convinced me of that reason, which is where they see each other in A New Hope. It's I haven't felt that in such a long time. And yes, you could have that play out in the series and for it to kind of make sense, but like John has said numerous times, it just would, I don't know, diminish the moment, I think, for me. So I would want the Cassian series. And plus, I don't know, I think what the Vader we got in Rogue One is just so epic that I want to see more of that. Mm-hmm. So I would say Cassian series.
Also, real quick, like, you know, we have talked about this, but it's good to refresh these things. And I know
I just give you a hard time.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. But I know this is not the segment for like let me chime in here. But I was thinking about that line again. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Like, he wouldn't say that to him if he saw him again prior to that.
He's like, bro, I just wrecked a hallway of 20 dudes. Look at me now.
Right. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah.
What do you think? I would say, Lacey, I'm curious.
I think you're going to say the Kenobi series.
Oh, I think he's saying Cassian 100%.
Oh, really? Because I think this is
interesting.
The reasoning because you really like the comics and you really like the stories they're telling of Anakin and like his connections to him, like him as Vader, but his connections of Anakin and his regret and dealing with this past. I think you would like to see that play out on screen with Kenobi. That's why I say that. And then also the callback
and John
to the Clone Wars.
Why do you think Cassian?
Well, I think Cassian because Rogue One's your jam. And I feel like you like it's probably similar to my point that there's more of an open palette or canvas for Vader to be inserted without it feeling forced or something like that.
So, all right. So if I had to pick a winner here, I actually think Lacey's closer to right.
Come on!
Oh my God, I'm so on
because I was going to pick Kenobi. Right. John, I think you are right that the Cassian thing makes the more likely sense. Like if I had to put money on it, I would say Vader's more likely to show up in Cassian. But which would I like to see him in? I do think that I would like to see him more in Kenobi for the reasons that Lacey said yes, but my initial answer to this question was going to be that moment of that you guys are talking about, A New Hope, that doesn't diminish it for me. If I was able to watch the Kenobi series and then go back, I feel similar to that, like Cobb Vanth payoff. Like I like the connections there, and I like that even though they're rewriting what that line maybe was intended to be, I now feel like it's more relatable now in current time to a more up-to-date story, if you will. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say that, but
was
like,
I right about the Clone Wars thing?
That,
would you want snapshots of Hayden Christensen in Clone Wars attire?
No, I absolutely agree that if they were able to get Hayden back, like being able to do extra stuff Hayden with Vader back. And that time.
Little Italy 6.
Spicy Johnny's here. No. Watch out. He's got his glasses on.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some things where like I'm sure they could get him back if they really wanted to, but the thing is like they have to convince him, and does he want to return?
Right.
You know, I think that's the thing. Like if there's probably other actors in Star Wars that would be like, I don't care how much you're paying me. No, I'm not coming back.
Here's my thing, and maybe Lacey can correct.
Lawson said that for a while too. He's like, no.
If he's willing to go to conventions, be hugged by complete strangers, and make that
sign
money.
jars of sand.
Right.
Yes.
You're right.
in March,
Yeah.
like to Boston in March, I would imagine he would take an acting gig as the,
I think
In
he would
Disney
now.
Plus
I
and
don't know if he
all
would
that,
years
yeah.
ago.
Imagine
I think
Hayden
now he would.
Christensen's like, don't you Disney Plus me. You're not going to Disney Plus me, Hayden Christensen.
Yeah. Hayden Christensen's like, I'll show up for the movies. No.
I got to play a pizza guy up in Toronto.
I liked Little Italy.
Which, by the way, you thought it was New York. It
You
is
also
Toronto.
like
I was
Holiday.
right.
Wait, but the movie takes place in New York.
No, it's Toronto.
Even in Toronto, so it's Little Italy in Toronto.
There's Little Italies everywhere.
That makes it worse.
Yeah, there's Little
Even
Italy everywhere.
in Italy, there's a Little Italy.
But that makes it
That's
worse.
like saying, like, what? It's Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yeah,
It's
what?
like,
Yeah.
But don't you think
Chinatown
that makes it a
everywhere.
little worse? Because we like think of Little Italy in New York.
We do because we're close. I don't know about James.
yeah. New York might, no, Chicago? I don't know.
Whatever.
I
He
don't know.
still looks good with his
where the
shirt off.
closest
Also,
Little
it's
Italy.
cheaper to film movies in Toronto than New York. That's
It
a big
is.
thing.
Are you sure it takes
Yeah.
place in Toronto?
I'm pretty sure, and I'm usually always right.
Don't mimic me. Don't you dare.
Well, I don't know if she's going to look that up or not,
I
but
am.
we are done with One with the Force, and we're going to head into our next section, which, John, tell us a little bit about what we're going to be discussing.
New York pizza owners.
It's
Recently moved to Toronto.
Leo
Toronto.
Campo and Nikki Angeloni are the respective son and daughter of rival New York pizzeria owners.
no, it's Toronto.
I'm usually right.
Anyway, they're not here for that.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Discussion this week is, can future Star Wars series, like we were just talking about, Cassian Andor and Kenobi, and others that are yet to be in production, reach the Mandalorian success without their own, version of a Baby Yoda? The Mandalorian is a bubble-bursting Star Wars project that has transcended Star Wars fans and became a global-reaching phenomenon due to Baby Yoda. Now, Baby Yoda has broken into pop culture outside of the realm of the franchise, which undoubtedly helped funnel people to watch the series who otherwise maybe wouldn't. So with more Star Wars series coming, can we expect, or is it fair to anticipate future Star Wars series performing as well as The Mandalorian without having the proverbial Baby Yoda of their own series? In other words, something that breaks outside of the bubble of Star Wars fans and into the lexicon of pop culture. So I'm gonna start by saying I think Kenobi has its own twist on this, where you have the Baby Yoda for Kenobi is nostalgia. Where you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, the prequels fans are now in their mid-20s. They have their own, places and their own bills, and they have their own Disney Plus accounts, so they're going to be dialed in there. You have the old school fans who are going to be like, Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine? I'd like to go revisit that and see where that happened. Oh, you're going to do a young Luke Skywalker in there? That'd be interesting to see. They're going to pepper little things in here that remind you of the original trilogy. I think the Baby Yoda for Kenobi is the nostalgia factor. The staple of Star Wars. I think the real test is going to be the Cassian Andor series, because I think there's still this pulse with some pockets of Star Wars fans that are like, I don't know if we need this. I don't know what is this. We still don't know much about this Cassian series, and it doesn't have that nostalgia grip the way Kenobi does, so I feel like it may need more of that thing that puts it over. So I think once we see Cassian and what the returns are for that, the streaming share thing percentage that we were talking about on Monday, I think the Cassian series is really their first real test when it comes to how we look in that if we don't have something like a Baby Yoda, which even if Mandalorian wasn't great, which I think it is, people are still drawn to it because of Baby Yoda. So
Right, it has that social media aspect of it that
Yeah,
any
you wanna be
screenshot of
involved.
Baby Yoda
Yeah,
you can
you
use
don't
for
wanna be-
anything.
yeah.
I think the draw for Cassian, outside of, Cassian, who Diego Luna, who's awesome, but for it to catch on in the general public, I think right now the thing that they have going for them is K2SO. I think his humor, his ability to get into, crazy situations and use humor to get out of them. And the meme ability, I hate to use that word, but like the ability to make memes of K2SO is very high.
There's one right there.
Yeah. So
it's high.
It's high.
Very high.
So I think that's going to be the thing that's going to pull other people in, because they're going to be like, oh, it's a robot. It's funny.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, John. I think Kenobi's not going to have any trouble because you have fans from every single, I think, trilogy will be engaged, because you have the prequel fans who are coming for Ewan McGregor. You have the original trilogy who are coming for Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have the sequel trilogy fans that are just coming because they're like, hey, I liked Ewan when I was younger. Yeah, I don't think Kenobi's going to have any problems. I think, if anything, Kenobi has more problems with fan expectations compared to Cassian.
That's fair. Sure.
And Cassian's going to have more trouble connecting with audiences outside of Star Wars.
And I'll let James hop in here, but one thing I'll just toss out there to kick around at some point here: could Darth Vader be the Baby Yoda for like the Cassian series?
I think that's a big marketing piece, because he was used as a big marketing piece for Rogue One. That trailer they showed in Europe at Celebration that like no one saw except the people in the room. The end shot was Darth Vader. Like that was the big moment, like the Palpatine laugh, like was Vader breathing. Yeah. So
James, what do you think about and not just these series, future series? So it could be an in general thought.
So initially, I was very much on what you guys have already said. Like Lacey brought up a big point. I think Cassian is going to have K2SO, and I think that is their levity in that show. Whereas the Kenobi thing is interesting, because I was like, I don't really know. And this kind of feeds into what we were talking about on the one with the Force thing. Is I was kind of leaning towards, I think, having that Ewan McGregor prequels vibe, but then bringing in the Darth Vader original trilogy vibe is like a way to be like nostalgia bomb, right? And be like, it's both. It's everything about the classic stuff that you liked. So I think that all that stuff is right. I wonder sometimes too what else they could add to Kenobi, because like I said before, I'd like to see Bail Organa, but Bail Organa also fits in the Rogue One thing. I'd like to see Mon Mothma and all this other stuff, and I was like, but all that stuff seems like it kind of fits a little bit more in the Rogue One world. So that's why the Kenobi series to me has always felt like it's a little bit like, I get why you're doing it, but I also like kind of don't get why you're doing it. Whereas I actually really understand why they're doing the Cassian thing, because it fits this perfect era of stories they want to tell that matches with the original
trilogy. Let me ask
trilogy.
you guys, because you both say K2SO, but K2SO doesn't transcend into pop culture the way Baby Yoda did. So I'm saying
it's hard to transcend past a baby. Like baby cutesy stuff is always going. Like, that's why puppies and cats and stuff do so well on the internet, because everybody loves that stuff.
That's why I toss Vader out there, because I feel like Vader is something even the fringe fans are like, I know Darth Vader. Like you show the helmet, you're like, I know that's from Star Wars. That's Darth Vader. Or they hear the breathing. So is Darth Vader a version could be used as the Baby Yoda for that series? That's what I'm just gonna put. Like I'm sure that's in their heads. Like Rogue One made $1 billion. Great movie. We think Darth Vader may have been a part of that.
So
do we?
I think you're looking at Baby Yoda and it also being like a phenomenon. And like I think that as much as Disney likes to, they're happy with the way that it has turned out. I think that the Baby Yoda thing is something that even the people at Disney were like, this is going to be a hit. I had no idea it was going to be this big.
Hit.
Right, right.
And when you get into that type of thing, everybody's looking at all these follow-up shows. We're like, hey, hey, band who came up with the Macarena, what's your next single? How are you going to beat that? And it's like, well, we're not. We just know we're not. There's no way we're going to be able to compare to. We often often argue against like looking at The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker numbers because there's no way they can compete with The Force Awakens, just because it is what it is, and it was a perfect storm of everything that led up to this massive box office bulldozer. The
return of the original.
You're not gonna beat that. It's just it can't happen, and I think The Mandalorian has found themselves in that niche as well. Here's the other interesting thing that I want to bring up about The Mandalorian is you bring up Kenobi, okay, Darth Vader and stuff. That all that stuff is kind of nostalgia and it ties into the movies and stuff. And I know Rogue One is a movie too, but I'm saying you brought up that Cassian Andor doesn't really hit like the fringe fans like you were talking about. And what's interesting is neither did The Mandalorian, and they had full faith in that show. Nobody even knew who that character was. It wasn't even remotely tied to a movie or film or big thing.
I meant K2SO serving as, because Lacey brought that up as the potential Baby Yoda for the Cassian series, and I was saying,
correct,
he's great, people love him, but not a pop culture juggernaut.
But I'm saying, and my point is compared to what? Because they were launching with The Mandalorian, which is even less of a known character than Cassian was, and their side character is, while it looks like Yoda, it's not Yoda. So I almost feel like they thought it was cute and they thought it would be successful, but I don't know that they were necessarily like,
this is Pikachu
I could
or
almost
Mickey Mouse
see somebody
or
in a
Sonic,
realistic.
yeah.
I could see them saying like, well, this Baby Yoda thing, this child, it's going to be big and it's going to be cool, but I can honestly see we're going to have more luck marketing the show using the comedies of K2SO and Alan Tudyk. That's going to be a big draw for that show. Whereas I'm not really sure how we're going to market it. We're just going to have to hope that people think the baby's cute or something. Big success on that. But I could see a point in time thinking, I could see a point in time thinking that the Cassian Andor being two notable characters related to movies with a big $1 billion franchise, that has more hope than the show with Mandalorian. But we trust the property, we trust the story, we think it's going to be good, so they went forward with it and they made it their first thing. So I don't know. I'm on the other side of that. I think the Cassian thing does have a lot of potential to hold up, especially what we were talking about with K2S.
And that's fair. But like Lacey, let me ask you, like in terms of realistic expectations, like what percentage of the Mandalorian viewing audience do we think are people that aren't diehard Star Wars fans that are watching because it is this phenomenon? And is it realistic to think that the other shows, which don't have that yet, something that expands beyond Star Wars fans, to hit those same numbers? Like I don't want the return to come in and be like, oh man, so this show's just doesn't have it. Like, did the Mandalorian was it almost like a curse and a blessing for the Mandalorian to be like this bang juggernaut, and now all the other series have to live up to that? You know what I mean?
I think that, kind of playing off what James was saying, I don't think Disney realized how big of a hit Baby Yoda was going to be. And I don't think they realized how much of a pop culture thing it was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob Iger was talking about it, I think, in the Q1 call earlier this year, where he's like, thanks to Baby Yoda, like he kind of made it as like a surprise to stakeholders, like, oh, well, I guess we can say how great this thing is. I think they took a chance with it, knowing it would be cute and it would resonate because it's, similar to Yoda and people know who Yoda is. But I don't think that they expected it to connect with children and moms and general audiences that don't even watch other Star Wars movies like they do with The Mandalorian. I mean, they're not out there making Darth Vader or K2SO makeup palettes. Like, let's go there. They're making Baby Yoda makeup palettes. And yes, they're doing Star Wars ones, but they're not selling like Baby Yoda ones. I think Baby Yoda is just this thing that they were like, well, let's go with it. But yeah, I agree. I think it set kind of the stage very high because everyone's now expecting everything to be great. It's kind of like, it's kind of similar to The Force Awakens, right? So it's the first series on television for Star Wars and it's at this peak. So now you have Kenobi and Cassian, who are kind of coming up behind it, and they're already having issues with COVID and productions and stuff. They're already setting themselves up to never hit that goal just because that goalpost is so high. Yeah. So how are you going to reach that? The only way you're going to reach that is to market it in a way similar to The Mandalorian to reach general audiences, which would be with a character like Darth Vader that people would see and know what it is and then get interested, because the majority of people, I would say, that aren't diehard Star Wars fans that are watching The Mandalorian got into it because of what they were hearing and because of what they were seeing with Baby Yoda. I mean, Baby Yoda has been everywhere for the past year. You can't get away from it. And
Cassian is reportedly going into production soon.
Right.
So that's 4 months ahead of Kenobi, though all indications are Cassian's more of a traditional series, so we have to assume it's going to be the 8-episode seasonal thing. Whereas Kenobi is 4 to 6. So the latest reports are 6 episodes, one shot. So maybe that doesn't need as much production. But either way, it's 4 months ahead of Kenobi. So I have to assume that's coming out before Kenobi. So I really think, I think Kenobi's going to be fine because of the reasons we said.
I think they're both going to be fine.
I do too.
They just have a high goal to meet.
I think Cassian's going to be the real test. Unless, like we say, they bring in the golden goose and say, let's make this a no-doubter and let's pop Vader in the trailer and say you're going to see him at some point this season, kind of deal. Which I'd be totally down with.
Or Luke or Leia or something else
that scares me.
They hire the young Luke thing.
I don't like the idea of recasting Luke in that time frame, because how old's Luke at that point? Oh, I guess you could do a 13-year-old Luke Skywalker, but what are they going to do with a 13-year-old Luke Skywalker working on a farm on the Cassian Andor series?
I don't think that's going to connect with people the way Vader is, because the mask itself is so recognizable.
And also Luke's not doing anything at that time. He's playing with his T-16 Skyhopper.
Well, no, I understand, but you know how it is. They could have one scene where he's just standing there, and yet the marketing going into that episode could be, or after the episode airs, because they're secretive about stuff now. But they could totally be like, it's young Luke Skywalker, and you're like, whoa, I got to see this.
I think that's happening in Kenobi for sure, like a 9-year-old.
Oh, I mean, that could, yeah. So I was thinking this though, because like I said before, I think they were kind of sideswiped a little bit by the success of Baby Yoda. So I could almost see this scenario, and tell me how you guys feel about it, because I think the general fans now today are like, this is how they imagine Disney thought this. They're like, oh, Baby Yoda and Mandalorian, boom, right out the box. That's our big show. And then we're going to have Kenobi. That's Ewan McGregor. The things fans have been looking for a long time. That's going to be a big one too. And then everybody kind of looks at Cassian and they go, what? Why is that? I think Disney more likely was looking at the shows like this. When Disney Plus launches, we aren't going to have a lot of subscribers. So we don't want to blow it right at the beginning and put all of our best content first. Let's start off first show, a slow show that features a character and a thing that no one's ever heard of, and we can put Dave Filoni involved in that, and that'll be his first step in. Get started with that. Secondly, the next show we'll do a little bit closer, connected to the film, bringing back a film character, reliving that billion-dollar franchise that we have, and make that show a little bit bigger and a little bit closer in scope once we have a little bit of a bigger audience on Disney Plus. Then, of course, the third one, that's the big one. We'll bring back Ewan McGregor. That's going to be our big money shot show. I mean, do you think it was ideally an escalating thing to get to some of these shows, but then we're totally blown away by how big The Mandalorian got in success to this X factor that they just didn't take into account?
I'll just quickly say I think they were expecting Mandalorian to be big because of Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was, let's try this out with Sean Frank. What was the name?
Scott Frank.
I'm just joking around. Okay, you gotta make sure you tell people that. Yeah, I think because Favreau was came up with the idea and operating it, it was had a little more muscle behind it than let's ease it in. I think they kind of thought like this is going to be something. If it wasn't Favreau and like it was more of an unknown, then I would agree with that point. But I think because it's Favreau, even though it was a new character and all that sort of stuff, I think that makes that different.
Yeah, I kind of see it as more of like, and I'm not like sold on that theory either, but I guess I'm looking at it more like Favreau is like a really strong shepherd for this new thing to make sure it's being led, because Favreau's show, or this first show, theoretically kind of sets the tone for all other shows, even though we have the movies and other things.
Which
but
is
like
another
kind of sets.
It's another point.
Make
to
sure
bring
that
up.
everything is going well, but it still kind of makes me think like, I don't know, like maybe they were like, let's start off with characters that people don't know and then grow into characters that people do know a little bit more and then even bigger. But I mean, no one expected Baby Yoda, and therefore, because it got so big, everybody flew over to Disney Plus, canceled their Netflix subscriptions, and
like it
became a bigger phenomenon.
Who's the showrunner for Kenobi even?
I'm not sure. I know that we know the director. I don't think they've announced the showrunner for that.
Tony Gilroy is doing the Rogue One show. And we have Joby Harold, who took over the writing, Deborah Chow doing the directing, executive producer Tracy Seward. But I don't know about showrunner. Like, and they just announced John Kasdan's going to be the showrunner for Willow.
Imagine if the showrunner was George Lucas. That's their poll. Showrunner, George Lucas.
You know, that'd be funny.
Everyone would be like, what?
They're saying, Stephen Daldry. Stephen Daldry is the name because he was the one set to oversee the movie or even direct the movie version. So I'm going to assume maybe he's still involved.
Talk about a move, though, if that's what they did.
Oh no! It says, well, this is Wikipedia. I mean, they do
the Lucas thing.
Stuff.
I mean, it makes more sense for Lucas to show run that than Mandalorian or Rogue One.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, because you're bringing Ewan back.
I'm in the camp that George Lucas is never coming back to Star Wars.
I'm just saying,
I think
imagine if he did.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be totally fine with that. Though, I have to say, I've been very excited thinking about the idea of Ewan McGregor doing Star Wars that's not overseen by George Lucas. Not because I don't love George Lucas, but let's see what he does with someone else's process. Yeah.
Almost like say George Lucas was the late addition. They sold Ewan. He got his contract. Would he be excited or disappointed that it was in fact Lucas?
Oh no, he'd love it, I think.
Yeah, I think he'd love it. I think it's different now because the technology is different. And I don't know, not that George Lucas isn't. Yeah. George Lucas is the greatest storyteller of all time, but dialogue writer not so much. They have different writers writing the dialogue.
I'm not saying writer. I'm just saying showrunner, the guy that's overseeing.
Oh, I know. Mm-hmm. He was saying though, if he came back, I think the biggest issue with the prequels. I mean, there were some editing and directing issues, I think, but the writing and the dialogue was probably the biggest issue for someone like Ewan McGregor.
So let me ask you guys this then. Okay, so we have BB-8. And he's cute. Everybody loves him, right? They try to replicate that with Dio. Didn't work, right? Dio's cute, but they actually kind of, I don't know, it's like the Babu Frick was closer, but it still just, it was not like the phenomenon they were going for. Yeah. And the Porgs too.
Yeah.
Although the Porgs had a lot of success
I
too.
think
but
BB-8 is probably the successful cutesy character from the sequel trilogy.
Yes, yeah.
They established him right in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that makes me think that Disney has this thing where like they feel like their big hook or their big thing is going to be a cute, small, lovable character. Baby Yoda obviously fits that bill. But are we really going to see this in like every show? Are they really going to do this, or what are some other options that you think, like besides K2SO that we talked about? Like, what's something that these shows could pull in that people would be like, I gotta buy up all the merch of that character or something.
I don't think they make these shows with merch as the first thing in mind. I think they make them and they say, you guys figure out the merch stuff.
Because think of all the merch for Baby Yoda that came out in the past year after the show's already out.
Like,
No. Well, no, that's not what I'm saying though. I'm not saying like, let's make a character so I think it's more like when J.J. Abrams is creating The Force Awakens, he is creating BB-8 to be something that's going to connect more with kids. Like he's designing that character around the ability to connect with a demographic that is going to blow up his film. All of the characters do that, but I think that character that does what we're discussing here, which is, do these other franchises need their Baby Yoda? It's, what is their Baby Yoda, and is it going to be a child or a baby like figure, or is it going? Could it possibly be something else like a Boba Fett? Just like in the sense that like it's there and it was created. It's not a baby, but it is like the thing that people seem to connect to or want to know more about, like a very cool thing. It
makes me go back to the Gallery series where Kathleen Kennedy was talking about how Star Wars is about silhouettes and about like from far away you can see what it is and know what it is. I think if you look at characters like BB-8 or K2SO or Baby Yoda, they're all characters that when you see an outline of them, you know what they are. So I think generally speaking, they try to find a character like that, because if you were to take Cassian Andor and put him next to Poe and make it an outline, like, yeah, we would probably be able to tell. But if you put them next to each other, people would be like, okay, I don't know who they...
Yeah. And I also think we need to look at the Kenobi series in a bit of a different prism, because it is this one-shot thing. They're not there for the long haul.
Which is just nostalgia, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like, let's reel kids in so that next season they could buy this version of this toy. It's just like, here's the 6 episodes. This is for Ewan. We know it's going to be a great part of the canon, a great part of the storytelling. Let's do it that way. And then, but if I had to say the Baby Yoda for that series, maybe you do a young Luke and you see a young Leia in different parts of the show, very briefly or something. And then in Cassian, I think you can do the Vader thing as that's Baby Yoda in terms of reaching the mass audience and saying, wow, I can sit on my couch and watch new Darth Vader stuff. That's amazing. You know, like imagine like coming up on Friday, 3 a.m., Darth Vader is going to be in the Cassian Andor series, and you put on Disney Plus and you hit play on a new live action Star Wars and you hear Darth Vader. Like, that's
the scene you got to think about. Rogue One, everybody talks about is that scene at the end.
Yeah. I just think people are like, oh, too much Darth Vader, too much Darth Vader. Then you get Darth Vader, you're like, oh, yeah.
He's so cool.
Yeah, that's right.
What's interesting to me to think is like, who's the villain in these things too? Because sometimes I think like, as much as we were praising BB-8 here, like we also got to admit that Kylo Ren,
so cool,
you know, is also this huge phenomenon, which I know they definitely knew that was going to happen. But the thing is like there was something that was really cool, and then they tied in this particular actor, and they were like, this was all planned. This is like a marketing thing. They knew this was going to happen. So my thing is like, who are the villains, say in Cassian? Like, because in Cassian, I get the vibe that they're more likely to be like a Dryden Voss, or they could do like they did in Rogue One. But like,
imagine they get Krennic back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like you could have these like smaller characters, and they could be creative and different because they're like part of the Empire, and they're like villainous in that way. But I feel like when it comes to Kenobi, like anything they do for a villain that isn't Vader is going to be like, I don't feel like this person is really a threat. But that is something that if they had success with a really cool, unique villain of Kenobi, that could be their thing, their Baby Yoda. Like they could create this new iconic villain
named Ben. Then he kills him and takes his name.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think outside of the baby. aspect. The
Everything's
cute
a
aspect.
baby.
Well, we can definitely. I mean, we're up against the time now, but we can definitely have the speculation on villain discussion in the future. Do you guys have anything you want to add before we hop into Resistance Transmissions to close this out? I thought it was a good discussion, though.
I like cutesy
I feel like we
stuff
touched on all the points.
in Kylo Ren.
What'd you say, Lee?
I like cutesy stuff in Kylo Ren.
That's fair.
Yeah, if it's orchestrated properly, like a cute character, I mean, Baby Groot, we didn't mention, countless other gizmos and other things that like, if done the right way, those types of characters can like blow up and become immediately iconic. I'm just trying to think of like, right now we're looking at the Mandalorian, we're looking at Baby Yoda, and we're thinking like, oh, well, what aspect of that is going to be in these other shows? But there are so many other
animals always work. Like
that's true.
Like Spuds McKenzie
Obi-Wan
for Bud Light. Like those things work. It's just
so that's a good example. Like maybe potentially Obi-Wan for whatever reason now has a dog, and that dog has like the animalistic thing, and it like connects with people, and they love its expressions and how it like, you know, rolls its eyes almost or something. You know, like
the
there's
dog's name
about,
is
like,
Ben. It gets killed, and he takes the name Ben as a tribute.
You're really
the dog's name is Indiana.
We called the dog Ben.
Yeah.
Well, we have to find out how he gets the name Ben, so I'm just gonna keep tossing that stuff out there.
Yeah,
because it was.
All right, but that's it for me.
Yeah, it was in the non-canon novel how he did it, but now it's up for grabs. But Lacey, anything else? You just
Nah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that discussion. Let us know your thoughts, whether that's in the comments on YouTube, or if you're a patron, the Discord chat. Let's fire that thing up as we do every day. Or of course, you can tweet at us at RBATSWNN, email us, whatever you got to do. But we are going to hear from you now via your tweets in the next segment. Lacey?
All right, guys, it's time for Resistance Transmissions. So as you guys know, every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter at RBATSWNN, and you guys give your answers, and I don't know what the scenario is, I don't know what you said, and we see what happens. So this past week, John put up that Palpatine's guards that Yoda knocks out in Revenge of the Sith both wake up hours after Yoda fights Palpatine. The room, building, and Senate are a mess, completely destroyed. Clearly confused, what do they say to each other? First up is Ted at BearsFan33.
Bears.
He said, "Did you see that new T16?" Next is Stephen Bowman at Stephen A. Bowman. Hey, Stephen. Stephen said, "Guard 1, do you think maybe he had trouble getting his boots off again?" Guard 2 stares. "Are you a moron, Devin?"
I laughed at Steven's tweet because it made me think of Palpatine like hopping around the room trying to pull a boot off his leg and crashing through everything. I thought that was good.
Next up is Adam Odell at Odell Adam. Hey, Adam. He said, "Guard 1, do you think this means we aren't getting our Life Day bonuses this year?" Guard 2, what do you think, Carl? We had one job. Don't let my little green friend into this office. I'm leaving the sector. Like tonight, before we are fried lobster.
That's true.
That's good.
Next up is Luke's lactating thalassiren. And Luke's thalassiren. All right.
Wow.
They said, "Guard 1, did you see that little green thing?" Guard 2, yeah, I bet it was really cute when it was a baby. It was.
Oh.
It was cute. All right. Next up is Rick Villanueva at Cad Bane's Bounty. Hey, Rick.
What up, Rick?
Rick said, "Guard 1, he sure did the magic hand thing, didn't he?" Guard 2, shut up, Dave.
I love all everyone's making the names up.
Yeah, the first guy's always dumb. It reminds me of first of all, every comedy ever, but Red vs. Blue, which is like a Halo thing where it's like the one guy is stupid and then the other guy's like, "You're an idiot."
I love that they're picking very Earth names.
Yeah, Devin, Dave,
Bob, and
Carl.
Steven.
Carl. Next is Andrew Staley
Frank.
at Deuce_Staley. Hey, Andrew. Love your sweatshirt on your Baby Yoda. Very cute.
Yes.
And he said, well, at least we are being transferred to Death Star 2. Cannot be much worse than this, right?
That didn't work out well.
No. Next is Danny Two Porks at Danny Two Porks. Danny, it's been a while. What's up?
What up, Danny?
Danny Two Porks. I think at one point it was Two Porgs, I feel. Or was this Danny Parmesan?
It sounds like the sickest rapper name, though.
I feel like he was Danny Two Porks at Danny Parmesan. Because I remember being like, so wait. Anyway, hey, Danny. He said, C-Tag, I told you this wasn't going to be a cushy job. Next guy says, don't worry, Bank. I know a guy who can get us transferred to something called the Stardust Project. That sounds way safer than this.
Oh, another bad choice, guys. I like the tag and Bank.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because, Lacey, you said this kind of reminds me of, and you went to Red versus Blue, but I thought you were going to say Tag and Bink, and then the very next one is Tag and Bink.
And last but not least is Matt Skywalker at MIB1188. He's changed from Matt Skyhaunter.
Good.
He said, guard one as he surveys the damage. Maybe this would be a good time to take that job with my cousin on Alderaan. Want to come? Guard 2. Sure. Nothing bad ever happens there. 20 years later. GIF of the Death Star blowing up Alderaan. Matt did not hold back.
So that trilogy there, you had the two of them were going to Death Star 2, two of them going to Death Star 1, and then the third group going to Alderaan. It's like that choose your own adventure, and they all picked the
wrong adventure.
It doesn't matter.
I thought that one was going to end with I'm going to take that job with my cousin on Alderaan, and the other guy says, sure, Alderaan's the bomb.
Oh.
Guys, thank you so much. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And then every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation, and you guys give your answers.
Yeah, it's fun times.
Back to you, John.
Well, I just want everyone to know that we appreciate you listening and watching, and being a part of TRB. Make sure you do subscribe to us because we have 3 episodes a week now. Mondays and Thursdays for the Resistance broadcast, and Fridays, the live Mando fan show. But more importantly, that show and the podcast is available on YouTube in a video version, but also the podcast app. So SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. So we appreciate you subscribing because, again, 3 shows a week. You want to make sure you're up to date and knowing when things are coming out. And speaking of that, the Mando fan show, probably tomorrow night at 8:30, but if it's not tomorrow night, it'll be Saturday at 11 a.m. But by now, you probably know pretty lock solid where we're at with that. But I just want to make sure everyone knows.
Follow us on Twitter and you'll know.
And all that. Yeah, and Ming Chen is going to be with us, so that's going to be a good time. StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Teespring.com/stores/Resistance Broadcast. If you want swag, guys, frickin' make Solo 2 happen pins. Go get a pin and support the movement. Tell your friends.
They do it on my bag.
James has one on his bag there. Lacey's got the Make Solo 2 Happen shirt. Yeah, good stuff. And it's getting cold out, so you want to grab one of our sweatshirts. I kid you not, the sweatshirts are very comfy and soft. That is it for us right now. We will obviously be back Monday morning on the Resistance broadcast, but again, the Mando fan show coming up for you for the weekend. So Johnny Hoey on Twitter, Myra Trunks, and Lacey Gillerin from James, Lacey, and myself. We'll see you next time right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.
Bye.